All right, everybody, we got another big energetic week coming up. A big Aries energy, powerful, transformative, calling this the Warrior's New Beginning. And it goes from 4/13, April 13th, up to the total solar eclipse on April 19th. Now, for some of you, it's going to be the 20th. So if you're east of the Central Time Zone, we'll get into that later, but it's going to be the 20th of April. And big things coming, much more than just an Aries new moon total solar eclipse. Of course, right? Of course. So here's our influence chart. And we're triangulating because we want to get the main, like the biggest energy that you're going to feel. Because if you can be prepared for how it's going to feel and sense, you won't be surprised. If you're not surprised, you're not going to be reactive, like impulsively reactive. And when we're talking about Aries, Sun in Aries, we have Sun conjunct Jupiter still. So everything's kind of like impulsive. And so you'll be less reactive, less impulsive, and you'll make decisions based on hopefully what the solution slide will be. Because we're going to be doing this triangulation here towards the end for how to behave, how to orchestrate your reactions so that you don't make big mistakes. This slide is important because we're looking at the feeling of a new beginning. And I'm going to go through why I think that that's the feeling. Whatever feeling that comes to you, you can imagine what that might feel like. And it's not here yet. It's like coming. And I'm already feeling this. And a lot of you I know have been feeling it. We're talking about a multi-tiered, multi-phasic total solar eclipse. Aries new moon. It's the second new moon in Aries. So we've had kind of a trial period for Aries. Aries is new starts, new beginnings. We've got a whole season is starting. Spring started with the last new moon right at that same time. So we kind of got some practice in what this whole new moon in Aries feels like. That was just kind of a prelim, a practice run. And now this is the biggie because we've got, of course, the 30-day cycle because it's just a new moon. And then we also have a 6-month cycle because it's a total solar eclipse in Aries. So this next 6 months is an Aries cyclic event. And then, so I know I'm missing some of the other time phases, but big pivotal time, especially around the 19th, 20th. Some of you, the total solar eclipse is going to be on the 20th. Some of you, it's going to be on the 19th. For me in the Central Time Zone, 19th. And that's why it's included in this CIRF report. It's right at the very end of our CIRF week. But solar eclipses are felt a little further out. So like a full moon, new moon, that's more like the energy is felt around plus or minus 24 hours. When we're talking about a solar eclipse, those eclipse energies, some people real sensitive are going to feel those weeks out. Most people probably going to feel it plus or minus 1 week. But what we do here, what we do in this first lunar cycle, the Aries cycle, after the new moon solar eclipse, this will dictate the success, the outcomes, what you're going to see the rest of those 6 months. So very, very important, very, very preparation is important here leading up to the 19th, 20th. And then immediately starting after that is very important on how you react, what you accomplish, what actions you take, because that will set the pace for the next 6 months in your own personal life. All right. So the Warrior's New Beginning, what is that all about? Well, Aries is the warrior and can really get a lot done, and a lot done for self. And and it's an important aspect of ourselves. If you're totally just sacrificing yourself all the time, you're pulled thin and you get very little done, and you start very little done for yourself. Your cup starts to empty and you get bitter. And so this is the Aries gift, is getting your cup filled up again powerfully. And what about me? And so I-Ching 7 says organized discipline, and that is all about the warrior. And when we do that reading, you'll see it, and it matches the total eclipse energy. It also matches the leader of the Jupiter square Pluto, the Jupiter conjunct Sun, and because that's still in play. That's the leader and the leader warrior, because it's Aries. All right, but that is even just skimming the surface. The DreamBot is looking at the timing. It's not looking at direct inferences to the solar eclipse, but it's the timing piece, because I mentioned all those different phases all coming in right at the same time. It's obvious that that is part of the eclipse. The eclipse marks kind of the conjunction of several different phases all in one. And then we also have Venus square Saturn, because part of the DreamBot is clearly Venus, love and beauty and wonderful and all those kind of feelings. That's Venus. But it's square over to Saturn. There's the father time. So there's another archetype that's important in the DreamBot. DreamBot, more about Venus, Saturn, but also the sun and the solar eclipse. So in this overlap, all you see left is the warrior's new beginning. And we'll cover a lot more astrology when we get there. High congruency score. So I think this, I know that a lot of you are already feeling this energy. I know I have been for about a little less than a week now. And so I'm excited. It's an exciting energy. It's very expansive, especially with the Jupiter there with the sun. And let's go ahead and get started. And a big shout out to our winners. And I say winners because we tied for first, which is John Doe and Jamie Dunn. And it's interesting how they have their own words indicating kind of the same comment. Intense and big cosmic waves, both of them using those terms. And so it was a multi-tie. Same content, wonderful content. By the way, kind of a receding in the comment section of our videos, but powerful, way powerful comments. And even Randy, thanks Randy for shout out on kind of the accuracy of the CIRF reports. You had a physical thing that happened, a power down, and it really matched the last CIRF report. So thanks for your comment. You know what I did last time? I forgot to show you the DreamBot. So that kind of speaks to get over to Telegram, because that's where I put kind of the mistakes or the things I left off. I'm going to put those into Telegram. The link is down below in the show notes. And it was a really cool DreamBot. It was the first of the refreshing. I had to refresh it. It got contaminated. The file, the Excel spreadsheet got just massively wrong. The equations were all whacked out. And luckily I recognized it wasn't hard to recognize, but it took a good day to fix it. But I'm glad I did. I feel really good about the algorithm again, refreshed. And what we have is this DreamBot run. And so the blue arrows are about Venus with the words like grand and girlfriend, view, how you look, camera, even in front of the camera, like, putting makeup on and getting souped up, and even were love, and even song, because Venus can be great music, can be creative, artistic. And then the red is clearly timing. The top word in the whole run with 200% surge is the word timing. And then other red arrows represent words that go along with that time factor thing. So, like I said before, it's all about that eclipse, how it's the kind of the central theme of of several different phases that are happening simultaneously. I do have one linguistic set that I thought was interesting. Absolutely woke days. Interesting, eh? Oh, and I didn't zoom in, so there's your zoom in. And you can freeze it and go look at it. Sorry about that. Making all sorts of mistakes with the Dreambot. All right, astrology. Let's darken up this just a touch. All right. We are in 13th through the 19th, the two vertical black lines. And right at the end is that new moon in the solar eclipse in Aries. And we are also seeing this Venus square Saturn. We're going to talk a lot about that. And we will also talk about Sun square Pluto. That is going to be a big factor for the eclipse and a big factor for the next 30 days and a big factor for the next 6 months. All right, with that, so now we get into Thursday the 13th. And a lot of these things that we're going to talk about here are going to be good for the entire week with some minor changes. Obviously, the biggest changes over the course of our CIRF week is the moon, just because it transits so fast. But we start off with a last quarter moon. And remember, this moon in the last quarter is kind of like the taking the previous to the last quarter moon, you had the foot to come off the accelerator, and now you're placing it on the brake and really starting to slow down in this. And that's important that I say this, because the energies, the expansive energies with Sun and Jupiter together, the Sun and Jupiter were the strongest last week, but still in a conjunction and still feeling expansive and powerful. Sun in Aries with that optimistic, wise, and by the way, that wisdom that is so essential with Jupiter is feeding ego right now with wisdom. And so please make sure you spend time in meditation, prayer, and the quiet times of focusing on your dreams to receive fully what Jupiter has for your ego. And going back to this kind of putting the foot on the brake, that seems counterintuitive based on the feeling that you have with the expansive ego and the pressure to get things done, the pressure for kind of feeling, the pressure to transform, which is Pluto. So this is Sun and Jupiter square to Pluto. Pluto just made it into Aquarius for a few days and is busy doing its transformation, subconscious power and control. But you put pressure on that power and control, you feel like you need to control. You need to feel like you need to power it. And with that energy in Aries, it feels like you have the resources to do so. So that starts this whole warrior new beginning, starts on the 13th. It started last week, and it's going to have a big impact on the eclipse. And so part of us are feeling partly kind of like the Aries warrior eclipse, but a lot of that is actually just Sun, Jupiter, square, Pluto. I don't want to say just, that's a huge alignment. And so Pluto at 0 degrees Aquarius and the Sun just starting this square. So this is just going to get stronger and stronger throughout the week, and still not quite to a perfect square to Pluto, still falling a little bit short to stay inside of Aries by the total solar eclipse at the end of Aries, right at the end. All right, now break. Now let's shift on over to Venus. Remember, Venus has made her way into Gemini. Not a bad place for her, but everything is a lot more mental, pretty agile, and that's good because there's a square of pressure over to Saturn. Saturn, the malefic, and kind of produces some hardship for both, we'll call it relationships and finance, the two big archetypes for Venus just overall. And then unfortunately, I have to honor this trine, Venus trine Pluto, and it's a very emotional influence here. Once again, kind of feeling the easy to feel like a transformation. That just feeds into the new beginning kind of feel. All right. The only thing here about the trine is that it's easier to access that compared to like the square, the pressure to find it, or the pressure to don't know where it's coming from unless you watch for these alignments. So anyway, transformation, changes, difficulty, hurdles coming to a Venus near you, your relationships, finance, maybe what it means to be beautiful or feel beautiful or look beautiful, maybe even an upheaval in your creativity, new ways of, like you can imagine. So if your passion was creativity and art, for example, in terms of Venus for you, then you can expect some hurdles to be in place as you try to produce some creative or some artistic outputs. And then that also feeds into, since I have to adapt to this hurdle, might as well transform it. So it feeds into itself, and not just a malefic thing, Pluto being malefic, Saturn being hardship. It can denote some positive changes for Venus, but may not feel all that great. Luckily, we have the adaptable Gemini to help out with that change in relationship and finance. The only thing I left off, I think, is Venus trine Pluto is also look for the easy to fall into power struggles, because Pluto represents power and control. So passions, especially relationships, talking about passions or any monetary kind of a passion, expect to have some power struggles there, power and control. All right, moving into Friday. It's worth talking about the really cool alignment with Mercury and Uranus. I mean, normally that would be a big focus area, but there's just so much more happening here. And this feeds into a new beginning kind of a feel, because Uranus is the change agent and Mercury knows it. Now it is kind of slowed a bit with Taurus. That's what makes it possibly more palatable. And it's very value based. Worth and value are the thoughts associated with this upheaval. Also, Uranus is the inventor, so this is a very big invention kind of an alignment. They're 4 degrees away on Friday the 14th. And so this is only going to get stronger. Your thoughts are going to get disrupted and change. You might get big insights, big invention kind of insights for inventing, the way you live or what you value, all those things. Meanwhile, also a square over to the last quarter moon, technically past the last quarter, and now the moon is full on breaking, slowing down, in an Aquarian sort of way, just kind of fading off into the distance. And what we want to do is really recoup in the last quarter section. So we want to honor that. And so if you can be not reactive, that's the impulsive Aries way. With all these squares, it's going to be conflicted and you're going to feel motivated to do something. I would spend a lot more time just allowing those to be there, but instruct yourself, instruct your mind to create the next 30 days goals for when this moon reaches the sun in Aries. We're looking at another Aries new moon, right? And the eclipse. But the new moon suggests another cycle, second cycle of Aries in the 30-day lunar cycle. So take that seriously. But right now it's about emotionally distancing yourself so that you can get some space to just relax, sit with things. And I'm not saying that's easy. It sounds wonderful. But, as you're sitting there in the lawn chair or on the beach, metaphorically or really, you're probably going to feel a lot of this tension and pressure. And so don't let the tension and pressure motivate you for action. Not yet. Let it instruct you, right? This is a great time for journaling because all these, what are going to be very motivating energies, you're going to want to not repress, but you're going to let that instruct you. And I'm pointing over now to the inventor alignment, Mercury and Uranus, looking for insights when you let that tension sit there. All right. Relax into it and let it instruct you for what's coming so that you can design the right lunar phase for both the 30-day cycle in Aries and the 6-month cycle in Aries. Very important that we do this week. Don't get impulsive and watch yourself being impulsive. You don't want to be reactive. You don't want to just automatically feel some pressure or some inner conflict and just go solve it. You're going to create probably some problems, but in accordance with the lunar phase right now that it's in, it's not the time to be starting projects and big goal sets. Just wait a few days. We're going to get there. All right. So just journal it, put it down, jot it down. Good idea, bad idea. This is a brainstorm. Look at brainstorming alignment, the Mercury and the Uranus coming together. That's a big deal. Brainstorming. What do we do with good brainstorming? Don't judge the thoughts. We don't judge people's ideas. It's just a time to just puke it out on a piece of paper and get it documented. Eventually, one of those ideas in there of your 30 to 50 ideas are going to be powerful. So just get them all down. It's a brainstorming time, especially with moon in Aquarius. Gives you the space away from reality so that you can just meander about. It's a mind-wandering kind of alignment, moon in Aquarius, and then obviously Uranus, the ruler. Waning crescent moon right now. Yeah, and that's a good point here. I wrote down foot lightly on the brakes. When I said brakes earlier, I didn't mean just slamming on the brakes and your car's losing control and hydroplaning. Just lightly on the brakes. You can still get stuff done, but slow down and don't be reactive. Sunday, the 16th, getting closer to the new moon. Now we've got a waning crescent moon in Pisces. And so emotions probably arise. And a lot of those emotions might be associated with the Pluto influence, because it's kind of like a death and rebirth, kind of back to the timing thing, which is what the collective is infatuated with. The Pluto feeds into the whole timing thing with the death and rebirth and starting a new cycle. Normally, if we get caught into a square with Pluto, we're feeling like it's more of like the ending and forgetting that Pluto is also the new beginning. Because it looks like our minds tell us that it's a cliff and you're going to be jumping soon. That's kind of what this Pluto feels like with a square there. We are 3 degrees away from Mercury and Uranus. So insights are coming in, much more brainstorming, and it's a slowed but very valued based thought pattern with Taurus energy. All right, and then in Monday, Sun is at 27.5 degrees of Aquarius, so Aries, and getting closer to the perfection of Pluto, but won't quite get there. So tightening, the square tightening, which means much more conflict between power, the inner significant power, life and death, rebirth, that kind of thing. There's a pressure for that. There's a pressure to control. And with the expansive ego, remember, this whole alignment, if you're not aware of this, you will find yourself subconsciously reacting into a power struggle, especially with Venus going through its hardship, and also it's trine over to Pluto as well. So power struggles upon power struggles. And those of you who remain unconscious or unaware of this process, you'll probably end up feeling like you're being controlled. And I'm going to cover that later, so I will help you prevent that from happening in the solution. Tuesday, the 18th, this is the day prior to the eclipse, and the moon is in Aries, having to transit all the way through there to get to the sun before the sun leaves Aries, and will do so. Let's see here. We are 2.5 degrees with Mercury and Uranus. And by the way, I didn't mention this, but the conjunction of Mercury, let me see here. 2 degrees. Hold on. Yeah, I don't think Mercury is actually going to reach Uranus this time around before Mercury turns retrograde and starts returning back towards the beginning of Taurus. So won't at this point actually get to a perfected conjunction with Uranus. But the energy's still there, still worthy to talk about. All right, we ready? Now on Wednesday, all right, so here's the cutoff. Central Daylight Time is what I have in my software, because I'm in the central time zone in the United States. And at my time, this total solar eclipse will be 11:12 p.m. A lot of you who are east of Central Time, so the Eastern Time Zone and even Europe and everything east of Central, is going to be the 20th of April. So just realize that. And then, West Coast and anything west of the Central Time Zone will be the 19th. All right, so what do we have? Well, we have a lot of red in here. We have a lot of red and 2 opportunities. And so that feeds into this new warrior, new beginning. There's multi-facets to our overall title of the Warrior's New Beginning. Obviously, warriors coming from the Aries influence. And it is the sun and moon that are together in azimuth at 29 degrees, 50 minutes of Aries, but they're also parallel. So what that means is in the inclination is within 17 minutes. So very tight in the vertical and tight enough to superimpose on each other. The moon going in front of perfectly around the sun to make a total solar eclipse. So it's not just parallel, it's perfectly parallel. All right? It's not just within 17 minutes. It's within zero parallel. And that's what makes it a total solar eclipse. We also still have 6 degrees from Jupiter. They have left Jupiter, but that expansive feel, that optimism of Jupiter is still very present on this new moon. And remember, We're talking about a 30-day cycle. That's just a new moon in Aries, the second new moon in a row. And we're also talking about the 6-month Aries cycle. So everything Aries, everything expansive, subtly expansive and wise, maybe extra impulsive, and a very tight. So we're looking at 29 degrees, 50 minutes, just 10 minutes from Taurus, but still in Aries. We are squared off to Pluto, and that's a tight square. That is only 30 minutes, so a half a degree away from perfection, less than 30 minutes away from a perfect 90 degrees with Pluto. So our new moon total solar eclipse, our 30-day cycle and 6-month cycle are being ruled with a triple square over to Pluto. So power and control are very much a part of this influence for the next 30 days and next 6 months. And what about it? Well, it's a very strong influence, pressure to transform. It's a pressure to change, especially when we're looking at Aries. And finally, you can just fill up your cup and get full again. All right? Fill your cup up this 30 days and 60 days. Get what you want. Get your passions out and manifested in this life. Get started on the first 30 days, right? And do that in accordance with the moon. Right now, it's conceiving, meditating, intending, making your intentions right on this solar eclipse. You can do a ceremonial, you can do a ritual, but most importantly, put the intention into your mind. And I would advise you to make it also very real, very 3D reality real, to where you're not just saying, I'm intending on being a better person. That's not wrong. But how are you going to be a better person? And what are you going to accomplish out in the physical world that demonstrates that you're a better person? So I would advise you to have a measurable goal in your intention. And this is going to be two intentions, the 30-day cycle. So when do you get these things done in the 30-day cycle? Well, from the intention is here, then the moon will transit to a square with the sun in the first week or so. And that's the time to really just make sure the plan, and you can start some small things, some preliminary things. The only thing you're doing is really preparing the workspace for that first quarter to the full moon period. And that's that's the week that you're really going to just go full accelerator down, foot on the accelerator all the way it can go, and zoom to your vision. Make sure you're carrying out things in methodical order. Again, not being too reactive, but it's a powerful time. Now, all the while, I want to focus in on the power of this new moon cycle. So doing everything I said for just the 30-day cycle, you also want to make an intention for the next 6 months. And so for this period of time, it won't guarantee the following 6 months, but it sets the stage. What you do in this 30 days cycle having to do with Aries will set the stage for and the foundation for your achievements for the next 6 months, the Aries type of achievements. And one of those energies that will either help you feel in control or control you, and again, I'm going to talk about this in the solution slide, is this Sun and Moon and Jupiter squared over to Pluto and the Venus square Saturn. And earlier in the week, it's the Venus trine Pluto. It's that power and control. And this has the potential to feel like there's a significant conflict in your ability to carry out things, and maybe fatalism, nihilism with the Pluto aspect. And if you kind of turn tail and run, you're going to be controlled by this energy. You're going to feel controlled. Things are going to feel out of your control. So it's very important that you start with assertive, passionate intentions at the get-go, right at the new moon total solar eclipse, for both the 30-day cycle, the Aries just moon cycle, lunar cycle, and then the 6-month intention, and make them practical, make them measurable, right, for both periods of time. And then don't ignore these emotions, this conflict, this pressure and tension, because if you do turn tail or ignore or dismiss, it will control you. All right. Let's get into the I-Ching, because it says organized discipline. This is the I-Ching for the warrior. Strength of discipline and inner power. This is harnessing the sun, moon, Jupiter, square, Pluto. This is harnessing your inner power, letting it be there, honoring it, channeling that tension, and pushing it out in a methodical way. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself, but it's important to keep reiterating this process. All right, what else? Effective team marches with a single purpose. So it's with organized discipline, it's more of an army and not just one warrior. And so, along with this, the other Aries is more even finding yourself, identity, but filling your cup, like I mentioned earlier. Goal that is held dear by all. All right, line 3 says, misfortune follows if you overestimate your capabilities or underestimate your weaknesses. So here's the deal. This is a perfect match to the astrology. Misfortune follows if you overestimate your capabilities. That's the Jupiter influence, overestimating your capabilities. So watch out for that. Make sure it is rational. Whatever you've come up with, have some rational, not devil's advocate per se, but more of pros and cons. You get into the rational, logical world just to make sure that what you have set as your intentions isn't overestimating. But at the same time, underestimating your weaknesses. So overestimating your capabilities is an error, and underestimating your weaknesses is also indicated in the Pluto square. Be certain that you and those around you are playing the role for which each is best suited, and you will overcome challenges. So, since we live in a very connected world, yes, this is a time for your individual warrior new beginning, but all of us are interconnected. It doesn't mean that interconnection is the focus, but you realize that everything you do has an effect on the people around you. Just keep that in mind. And that's the main thing why we're going to avoid being impulsive. It's a real risk this week, is just being impulsive and just going about your business. All right, here's the overall energy chart. So now this could be variable, as we mentioned before. This big thick line, that's the solar eclipse energy. And for a lot of you, it's already maxed out. For me, I'm not sure it's maxed out, but I definitely feel, I'd say this is a pretty close resemblance of what I'm feeling now. And it should be getting stronger, right? The Aries solar eclipse. About a week out, a lot of you might even feel it 2 weeks out, have already been feeling this energy. I know the video that I just posted on Telegram is exactly this energy. It's Joe Rogan saying it. It is a very positive sense. It is a solar eclipse conjunct with Jupiter, square over to Pluto. That is Joe Rogan's comment. So go there and listen to that. And then this little thin line, this is the Pluto square sun that is just starting. So that's why it's really low on Thursday. And then just rhythmically going straight up and basically at its own climax is very close to the time of the solar eclipse. All right. Let's see, am I forgetting? Yes, I am forgetting something. We need to go give you the final influence, right? Here's summarizing the whole influence. All right, ready? It's the warrior's new beginning. Eclipse season is upon us. Get ready for a new beginning with a total solar eclipse in Aries. Expansive boldness and warrior-like breakthrough is the gift in this energy. By honoring this influence, you'll immediately face power and control issues. You'll get some resistance. It's shown in the astrology. Just be looking for it. Don't just assume that when you go pressing forward and you feel that breakthrough energy, and so you start in on this breakthrough and carrying it out, you will get some resistance. So, don't let those hold you back. You'll face power and control issues that have held you back from your biggest identity layer passions. That's the Aries. From your biggest identity layer passions. By ignoring or resisting this energy, the control issues, power and control, you'll be controlled by it. All right. So that's the influence. Let's head into the solution. One thing to know what to feel, look for, another on how to react. And that's what this is. Hexagram 46, pushing upward. And a lot of you already know what that is. It's an emphasis on upward motion. So it matches the warrior, maybe undercut, maybe a left hook. The movement from obscurity to influence, constant flexible growth is key. So that implies there is going to be resistance. All right. If you don't have resistance, consider this. If you start in on your breakthrough energy and action behaviors, and trying to achieve your goals through the process, and you get no resistance, well, lucky for you, but I would consider that to be you're not going nearly as hard as you could. You're not achieving nearly as much as your breakthrough is not as significant, and you tampered down, you underestimated what you could get done. Consider that. Doesn't have to be right. But the level of resistance as an indicator for how much you bit off on this. If you get way overwhelmed by the resistance and the hurdles after you get started, maybe you bit off too much. If you don't get any resistance, maybe you bit off a little bit too little, and you should add some to your goal. The wise person in harmony with fate is sensitive but determined. Make sincere effort to apply determined effort against the forces of inertia by bending around obstacles that arise. And good fortune will follow. Right? So stay with the resistance. Keep trying. Keep pushing. Go over the obstacle. Go through the obstacle. Go around the obstacle. Willpower and self-control are necessary, and inner enthusiasm for life is what drives it. That's one thing I failed to mention. Just so one more thing with the Pluto. Keep in mind, you can use this energy for good self-control. Boy, I wish I would have remembered that one. That's an important one. All right, in our conversion, this is where we convert from tropical to sidereal. The new moon is at 29 degrees, which puts us in hexagram 3 or gate 3 of the Rave mandala. And there is a tiny, tiny sliver of overlap between Sidereal and Tropical Aries. And we're right in that tiny little sliver. So that's cool. We have an extra powerful, because we're going to be going after the behaviors directly associated with the influence, going right at it. And then the Rave, hexagram 3 or gate 3, says difficulty at the beginning. There's the timing thing again. It is the beginning. It's the warrior's new beginning. So even the Rave finds this. That's the other kind of confirmer. So this is where in the Rave mandala, the total solar eclipse is happening in gate 3, line 4, charisma. And it says the innate quality which attracts valued guidance. All right. So this is one little extra thing that we need to include in our solution. It's an important one. So it's not just Aries warrior just crashing through obstacles and, getting their cup full and what about me and finding self. It's about taking and we've already eliminated impulsiveness, right? Watching yourself and not just impulsively going after something. It's taking the guidance from something. So a psychic energy which attracts nourishment and ensures ordering. There's an order at which you go through this process. It is methodical, very hard for Aries probably, and especially Aries energy with Jupiter there to be methodical, but that's what we're going to do. So let's go into the final solution. And we'll just slide up here. And here we go. So we had the hexagram 46. We're going to triangulate with the following. Hexagram 46, pushing upward, bend around obstacles, remain flexible, and use willpower and self-control. So utilize the Pluto, utilize your own subconscious control mechanisms to offer you more willpower and self-control. Rave mandala says difficulty at the beginning, right in line with our warrior's new beginning. And charisma, innate quality which attracts valued guidance. And then we have Sidereal Aries. This is awesome. So we can go Aries actions on the Aries influence and timing. It's perfect. Absolutely perfect and divine week. Great opportunities for all of us. So here we go. This is a powerfully energetic week, and your reactions to the energies will greatly impact your experience for at least the next 6 months. The solution triangulation represents forward and upward movement. Find something you're intensely passionate about and apply the Aries warrior to that. Be direct, be ardent, be vigorous in your actions. Not impulsive, vigorous. Be mindful that your powerful push upward creates resistance. So remember to remain flexible, willful, and go around the hurdles. Be sure you don't power forward blindly. Bring the advice of your mentors. Get guidance from your guides, maybe your spiritual guides, maybe your 3D reality guides, your leaders, your higher power. Use some divination, any sort of guidance, even psychic guidance. Use your dreams as guidance. There's a lot of sources for this guidance. You can use the insight from Uranus into your mind. Lots of options there, but it's a big one. Don't go forward blindly. Get some feedback from external sources, and just to verify that you're going in the right direction. Go forth powerfully, self-confident, passionate, and with high intensity. So in order to do that, you have a week to get ready for this new moon total solar eclipse. Use premium energy management every day this week. So Reduce your stress load. Reduce the plates that you're spinning just at least this week in preparation. Get rejuvenated. Premium sleep. Avoid energetic drains. And what are energetic drains? Drugs and alcohol, stress, bad sleep, bad relationships, parasitic people, TV shows, negative, watching the news. These are energetic drains. Rumination, those are these thought patterns. A lot of your thoughts will drain. Bad food, lots of carbs, lots of sugar. Get the insulin production high, which reduces your sleep quality and has a health effect, a negative health effect. Use good energy management. Move throughout the day. Get your blood circulating this week. Keep your energy high so that at the time of the new moon, you're ready to go all out, full forward, full accelerator down, and fight for yourself with no regrets. Remain topped off with your energy. All right, so just the biggest things that are not intuitive with this Aries energy, because it's a triangulation. And just a reminder, look for the resistance and figure out a way to get through there, or pull back your goals, right? If too much resistance and hurdles means you probably bit off too much. Maybe, possibly consider that. All right, that's one. And then two is don't go forward without any sort of feedback and guidance from some source, spiritual guidance or real world physical guidance. So consider that. And then a couple things that I'm going to be using are the runes, and in conjunction together. And I'll talk about these here in a second when I pull out the book, but I'm going to use the statement, I am divinely guided to my personal breakthrough opportunity. I stand strong and I will win. These are the runes that exude everything that we talked about, both influence and solution. And this is the Tiwaz, the arrow, the up arrow, basically Tiwaz. And it's good for courage, victory, strength, passion, and very masculine energy. And then we have the lower one, which is Dagaz, and it's for daylight, success, hope, breakthrough, transformation, and balance. Both of these together, I'm going to wear these right here to remind myself that these are the actions that I want to take. This is the energy that I want to remain dominant with. And nowhere in there is impatience or impulsive, right? Not in there, but strong and confident. And all the processes that we talked about to get your confidence, the outside guidance, divination, higher power, prayer, meditation, dream work, journaling. Whew. Big week, big opportunity. Set yourself up. And if you do one thing this week leading up to the eclipse, is make sure you top off your energy. It's the one thing. Make sure you come at this with big, bold energy. All right, everybody. That's a wrap. 53 minutes. Man, let's do this. Let's have a great week. And we'll see you on the other side of hopefully a big breakthrough in your own life, maybe the world. Who knows? Take care, everybody. Namaste. Top off your energy. See you next week.